All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I'm fired up. I'm here with Kurt Henderson.
Stoked to be here. Thanks, Dougie.
One of my newest brothers. Kurt is a newer, in the last year friend, really.
Yeah.
And is
Coming up on a year.
Coming up on a year. Yeah.
January of 25.
Where it all began.
First sauna session.
Yeah. And so Kurt, you're the CEO, managing partner of Sandlot Private Wealth, and we're going to talk about that. And one thing that I really wanted to bring you on to talk about is obviously when you initially hear the word wealth, it's like finances and money and investing. But the reality is wealth is so much more than that, right? It's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's your relationship with your spouse and your health and God and all those things. And really focusing on wealth, well-rounded wealth, is what brought us into friendship at the Boss Spa, of like the social friendship piece. And when I look back at 2025, I'm like, what am I most proud of? What were the highlights of the year before? Like the Boss Spa groups, right there at the top.
Oh, for sure. I mean, today actually, when we all met, one of the Christmas gifts for my wife, she was like, there's only so many gifts you can give someone that really by the end of the year, they don't mean anything. And for her, she saw how much this group has meant to me. And so she bought those oils for everybody. She says, I know how much you love this group and spending time, and we're going to do that Finland trip. And so she bought those oils. And I think of 2025, one of the best investments in wealth, creating elements for me was the people I spent time with, and the Boss Spa is really at the top of that list.
Yeah. And as I look back then, though, just to share more about it for those listening, our mutual friend, Casey Baugh, about a year ago, decides to go buy this like epic sauna from Cedar and Stone.
One of one sauna.
So one of one sauna. And he just was kind of inviting people over here and there. And then one day he like invited a crew of guys to come sauna. And I didn't know you at the time.
Right.
And it was me and you and John Taylor and Logan and Ty and Zaza. And it was kind of a bunch of these group of guys. And then we kind of formed a text message thread.
Well, I also think it was this natural selection, if you will. And I think there's this energy of people when you start spending time, because there's a couple of group texts out there where it's like, you're in it, I'm in it, maybe this guy's in it, Casey's in it. And then he hits that text thread again, is like, hey, do you guys want a sauna? Wasn't every day. And then people would start dropping until this group, he texts that group and everyone's like in. And it just started to solidify till all of a sudden we're in tears, we're meditating in freezing cold water, and people are sharing about kids being born or people they're dating, businesses they're launching. And it really is like I prioritize trips around, making sure I'm home for a Boss Spa.
You got to be home for the Boss Spa, you know? And so it's really funny because I was thinking about this when I left LA. I was living in LA before then, and I was craving like brotherhood, community, friendship outside of the LA scene that I was in, just something more foundationally strong. And I had no idea that I'm moving back to Utah, I would immediately get put into that group. So I moved back to Utah in October. I was gone for 4 years. And literally 3 months later, Casey's sauna gets built. And I look back now, I'm like, oh, if I would have not moved home in time, I could have missed this group. Like, it's crazy the timing of it. And so, for me at least, I look back at my life and realize how important it is to like have male friendships. And it's hard as like I'm 37 now, which is crazy, right? You're 36, I think, right? Like, it's hard to make friends as like true brothers as like a guy in your 30s. There's like this big loneliness epidemic with men especially, and to have like this brotherhood that kind of just naturally came together is truly been like one of the greatest things. And that's like, again, if we were sitting here a year ago, we weren't that connected, but now like I look at you as like one of my closest brothers because we have like this ritual of brothers that come together. And so I'm curious from your end, like what shifts have you seen in your life and the kind of impact it has been to have like a freaking legit group of guys? You get together, we get together for 2 hours probably every other week in the morning, and it's been way more than I ever expected. I'm curious from your perspective, like what shifts have you seen in your life having, a community like the Boss Spa?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to other pillar groups, like you grow up, you have your neighborhood buddies, everyone has their bikes, you come home at sundown, you hang out, there's no phones, technology, social media. It was just hanging. And then you kind of evolve into high school, and then maybe there's sports or there's classes, and that becomes like that brotherhood, and people make decisions, and it kind of takes them to different adventures and peaks. And then you kind of look at now where I'm married, wife is an absolute boss. I have 4 kids under 6, building companies. I have health. I have all these different things that contribute to my life. And I think having people where you can open up, a thing that comes to mind is I remember John Taylor and his daughter when she was born, and she was in the NICU for I think it was 3 months. And Ty being there and being like, this happened to our daughter. And I remember John was sitting next to me, and this was in Boss Spa 1, RIP Boss Spa 1, burned down.
One that burned, yeah.
Boss Spa 2 is 10 times better, but you have John sitting next to me talking about we almost lost Kit. Yeah. I get it hits you hard as a dad, if you were to lose a daughter, and him crying in this sauna that's 195 degrees, and Logan looking and saying, Kurt, put your arm around that man. Yeah. And putting my arm around John and being John's building an incredible business. Logan's killing it in his business. And when you come together and you have people, when I think of wealth, when I think of how it's helped me grow, it's helped me to have, I remember literally since then praying for more compassion, that I can have more compassion for people, that I can be more sensitive, more in tune to their needs. And I've just seen being around people, the old adage, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. How can I spend time around incredible people? And my growth, I've seen that, and trying to be very selective of the people I talk to and be with. Doesn't mean that I won't talk or don't spend time with people, but there's certain patterns and rituals and things that people do that are time tested, that I'm sure Moses did on Mount Sinai, of meditation and breath work or whatever. A lot of the things we do, they become patterns that promote growth. And that's what it's been for me.
You talk about the people you spend the time with, and you look at that group, and it's how many of those guys are CEOs, right? You, Ty, John, Casey, Logan. I mean, Za in a way with his company. I mean, it's crazy. And it's just kind of this natural.
For sure.
It's crazy.
And there's a lot of the same opportunities. When I look at Ty talking about wrestling,
yeah,
and putting his boys in wrestling and what it's done for them as far as grit, determination. He's when I see him on the mat, a whole new animal comes out, and he's seen hard work. And I go look at my daughter who's 6, and I'm okay, we're getting into horseback riding, and it's really hot in the summer, or it's chores, or it's, those same things I can learn. Or I remember Kit was born 2 months before Kai, my little boy, was born. And so you start to see there's these patterns of life, same way with investing, same way with health, same way with, relationships. And you start to say, what's those patterns that I can utilize and benefit from?
And on that too, because it's the big takeaway from the Boss Spa thing is just having brothers, a true brotherhood, where I feel I can go to Boss Spa and I can talk about anything. Yeah. And there's no judgment. I can talk about hard things. I can talk about whatever, and it's going to be received. But I look at how did this get formed? When you talk about, you have friends in your childhood, you've got your football friends in high school, and then mission companions, and then, you played football at BYU, and we'll talk about that. But your willingness to follow your talents, follow your natural gifts, right? Whether that's through golf or football or through your mission, puts you into a new, different kind of category and opportunity to meet new people. And because everyone in the Boss Spa is kind of committed to our health and our wellness and saunas and cold plunges, right? That it brought us in to community. So I think about people who might be lacking community, I go through phases of my life where there are periods where I was incredibly lonely. I think back to my life when I lived in Austin, Texas for about a year, felt very lonely, and I wanted to make friends. And at the same time, I wasn't participating in my life. I wasn't like following my natural desires of wanting to play golf or being out in nature or like joining new groups. And so I think there's like this two parts of it. It's like for you to find community and friendship, which is so valuable. At the same time, you have to like go out and participate in your life, right? And like follow these passions. So for someone listening, it's like, okay, I would love to have a group like that. How do I find a group like that? It's right. You got to better yourself. You got to go out and, whether that you get into jujitsu or yoga or mountain biking or whatever it is, you got to go out and participate in the world. And I think life will kind of naturally kind of create an opportunity for you to connect with other people. And then you got to say yes to the opportunity when it says, hey, meet me at the sauna at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You got to go.
For sure.
You got to go. And so, I think I just know how much this group is meant to me. And I wish that for everyone. And so like, this is like a nudge of encouragement, like, hey, go do the thing, follow your talents, get up early, say yes, commit to your growth, commit to your development. And, you could have never predicted that this group would have come from me going to join Casey at the sauna one morning.
Yeah. And I think of the word or kind of statement of like taking action.
Yeah.
It's, like you there was a few times you just show up, you don't know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's like,
strangers. Like I had no idea. I got the group text and there's 4 numbers that I don't have saved,
like
I don't.
No idea who that is. And I think there's this, opportunity to contribute. I think of Casey sometimes hard to contribute to because you walk into the sauna, the music, the eternal flame, you've got it is the Ritz-Carlton. It's like the perfect space. But it's the follow-up text. It's the gratitude. It's contributing or adding value to whatever community you're in. And so I think you mentioned this loneliness epidemic. And I think of this digital community that we create in social media, which I just think is a gateway to have a physical connection with people where you still can reach out, you still can engage and go take action and be like, hey, I listened to this. I'd love to learn more. And that literally was with Casey. I've been at Sandlot Partners for coming up on 4 years. And I remember when he partnered with Dave and, I'd go to all the investor meetings and there was a lot of common circles, but I didn't really know Casey. And so I was like listening to everything that he put out there. And then there's Sunday planning. And then there was, he didn't have case studies, but I would listen and then apply everything that I felt was true. And then I remember he really impacted me. I wrote a handwritten note, sent it to him, and he DM'd me and he's like, this will go a long way in your life, this principle of writing handwritten note. Really was like nothing that I was trying to get out of it, just like, these are true principles. I'm going to apply them and just, started doing Sunday planning every Sunday. Now I do it just about every day. And it evolves where you take action and you follow. I love what you said of your interests. If it's golf, you're going to meet people on the golf course that have the same interests and light. I think of that light is attracted to light. And it doesn't mean we have to be the same. I think there's oneness, not sameness in great community. And when it's eclectic and it's that vibration of we want to be great people, that's where it gets electric. And that's what makes life so enriching.
I look back at my life and it's so well said that like in all of the friendships and communities and potential business partners, people that helped me along my journey in some capacity stemmed from me taking action where I felt uncomfortable. Like I've been to so many like networking events by myself, right? I moved to Austin, Texas by myself. I moved to LA really not knowing anyone. I reached out to people who I wanted to meet and just like sent the message and showed up and provided value and connected. And it's completely changed my whole life. Yeah. And so for anyone listening that's like, man, I really am looking for a community, brotherhood, whatever it is, like first follow your natural interests.
Be authentic with that.
Yeah, be authentic, right? If you're not into cars, don't try and be into cars, but like follow your natural interests and then reach out, provide value, sounds like you wrote a letter of appreciation.
Yeah.
And so you just don't know where the dots are going to connect. And on that too, I want to pivot here is it's funny, I'm a diehard University of Utah fan. But
I can feel the tension.
I can feel
with
the tension.
Whit gone, I think, we're all trying to put our arms around each other.
I'm fired up for Whit.
Yeah, he's killing it.
He's going to kill it. But it's funny, I'm a diehard University of Utah fan, but I've had like 3 BYU football players on the pod. I haven't had a Utah player on yet, but we'll get that piece figured out. But for every football player I know, because I'm a diehard football guy, I didn't play at the level you played at, but a common theme that I've met with people who are football guys, everyone has like a coach from before college, the high school or the junior high coach that like implemented and impacted them in a way that kind of changed the way they viewed the world and engaged with the world. So I'm curious from your end, like if you look back at your football career, who is the coach that was like, that really made that impact on you?
Such a good question. And if you don't mind, if like, I'll be short with 2 of them.
Yeah, please.
So I actually quit football my junior year in high school. Cold-blooded quit it. And it was a week before fall camp. And I'll get to that in a second because my baseball coach, Reed Sechrist, legacy down in Snow Canyon, multiple state championships. He comes in, I was a freshman, and baseball was my love. I mean, pro preferred, sitting on my bed, I'd have a maple and then an orange Omaha. I mean, baseball was everything. Nomar Garcia-Parra, shortstop, like
OG.
Eckstein.
Red Sox?
Big Red Sox fan.
Yeah, Red Sox, yeah.
And so wanted to play at BYU, wanted to play at the next level. And I remember he just believed in me. He was like, sophomore year, starting shortstop, like, you're my guy. And then we had this ace when he would pitch, I was a starting shortstop. When he wouldn't pitch, shortstop, I'd move to second or in left. Like I was always in the rotation, either batting third or fifth. And he was just like, don't care if you strike out. Don't care if you make an error. You're my guy. And obviously had a lot of other guys on the team, but just this belief that a coach was like, I don't care if you mess up because everyone does. You have talent. You can go do this and do it. And that just resonates with me because I'll just run through walls for people with that belief, self-belief, and when others believe. And so,
yeah. And when you're playing that way too, it makes such a difference, right? You're playing to win and you can get into the flow state rather than playing not to lose. I don't want to make a mistake. And I look like my sport's obviously not near your level, but my senior year of basketball, my junior year, I played phenomenal. I remember going to this. Did you ever play in like the Dixie basketball tournaments in the summer? So fun. I remember playing games at Snow Canyon.
Yeah.
So my senior year, it would have been your junior year, I had a 50-point game in Snow Canyon during, like I'm playing lights out because my coaches were cool and had my back, and then you go to your point here, and senior year, the head coach, I felt like I couldn't screw up.
Yeah.
Like I can't screw up. I can't make mistakes. And so my senior year, I
turnover, you're pulled out.
Yeah, and so I played terrible my senior year because I was playing in fear. And so,
which I think shows so much about being a great leader, creating certainty in players or whatever you're in. So baseball, I'm like, this is it. Baseball and basketball, no football. Like I had community in both. And I went up to Coach Jacobson, legend down at Snow Canyon, multiple state championship. I go up to him, I meet with my dad. It was like 6:30 in the morning, pull up into his office. I'm like, hey, Coach Jake, prayed about this, thought really long, hard, and look him in the eyes. And I'm like, I'm no longer going to play football. And he's like, looks at me, looks at my dad, looks at me. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, this is the time for me to step up and be like, I'm sure. And he's like, this will be the biggest mistake of your life. And I'm just like, I've done all this preparation to come to this conclusion. Like, I feel strong about this. And I remember walking out of there and getting into my dad's car. I remember we were parked in the back, and he tends to have a little bit heavier foot. And he wanted me to play football. He played up at Rick's College and stud athlete, and we driving off. And here I made this decision. I'm a grown man. I'm 16, 17. It was my junior year, going into my junior year. And he said, you're not seeing it. I'm like, holy cow, like talk about everyone against me. I guess this is where greatness comes because no one has my back. And I remember getting to that point, and I think it was my first real realization of, because I really put God in the picture of like, help guide me, help me understand And I felt really good about this decision. And it kind of goes in like fork of the road and you go right. Elder Holland kind of talks about, he gets to the end of the road with his son. And he's like, Dad, like we thought this was the right way. And he's like, son, let's go back. We know now that this is not the right way. So anyway, fall camp starts the next week and I show up to fall camp and he hadn't told a soul. He looks at me and he's like, Kurt, it's good to see you. And I remember I played quarterback that first game against Lehigh, threw for like 350 yards, 2 running touchdowns,
Crushed.
5 throwing, like
Balled out.
And it wasn't because of that. It was like, that was cool. Still grinded, still went through, BYU, had to walk on everything that way. But a coach who was man enough to say there's something bigger for you. Because if I stopped playing there, yes, everything would have played out in its own way, would have been great. But BYU football changed my life. Like where I am today, the network, the people walking on, getting cut, to my friends, to the network, to playing against, some of the best teams in the country. Like I'm so grateful for great coaches and people who said, why don't you think of this? Why don't you do this?
Go back to, that version of Kurt. And it's like fall camp and you show up. Was there a point that morning where you might not have gone? Or were you like, I'm back in? Like what was that decision? What was going on in your head after kind of, that back and forth? Was there back and forth? Were you being swayed, right? What was influencing your decision? Or like, how did you know you need to go back on that football field?
Yeah. I kind of I would put it to, because I've thought a lot about this of like being compelled to do things. And it never was like, you need to play football. It was more of like, there might be a good opportunity if you played football. And it was like, that feels good. And it feels like, go get after. It was the same thing. I remember when Coach Cahoon at BYU after spring ball, I go up to his office. He's like, Kurt, you're great. You represent BYU. We just don't have a spot for you. Like 105 is 105. We've got scholarship guys coming in, but if you want to work out in the summer, like you can and come try out after, once fall camp starts. So they go down, all my gear's in a black bag with tape wrapped around it. Like they'd already cleared out my...
They put it in a bag.
They cleared out my locker.
They cleared out for you.
I go to my locker and nothing's in my locker. So I go to the equipment manager. I'm like, hey, Evan, like, have you seen my stuff?
Was this like appalling? Like, did it like catch you off guard?
I had no idea how the system worked.
Yeah.
I didn't know about like you get cut and spring ball and fall camp and 105. And I had no idea. I was just like, they want me on a team. Like, I'm an athlete.
So when you went to that meeting in spring ball, was there any idea that you were about to get cut?
Zero idea.
No clue.
I was just like, hey, like I didn't get a lot of reps. I mean, Cody Hoffman was in front of me. Like we kind of work our way up. And it's like, yeah, like you're not on the team. So I go down, Evan's like, puts this bag and it says K Henderson. He's like, yeah, man, here's your stuff. I remember like running. I didn't want like I didn't want people to see like, oh, Kurt's gone. Throw it in the back of my truck and I sit in the back of this truck and I'm like, well, either that was short-lived and, I wanted to go into investment banking and finance and everything. And then it was like, or he actually said I could come work out. He said I could and so there was like a little door open.
What door wasn't fully closed?
No. And I'm like, and it was the same feeling of like, if you want it, go get it. Yeah. And I didn't need a big door. And so I was borrowing laundry loops. I was borrowing codes. I was like, I remember fall camp seeing everyone out there working. I was just in the squat rack. And I'm not this big dude to be like, oh, I needed every weight on that squat rack that I could push up. And I remember trying out and my name was on the list. I remember grabbing that helmet and it didn't have a Y on. You had to earn your Y. It was just a marshmallow helmet. I'm like, no one's taking this freaking thing away from me. And then it was just like, now I get it. I got to make fall camp. I got to kill it in spring ball. Like I just started chipping away. And that was a 5-year journey. But I think it was that same emotion or the same thing as like I go about my life is like trusting my gut and training my gut to be like, this is a good thing. This is good people. It's going to be a lot of work. And I'm going to go chop wood and just get after it. And that's kind of the same feeling that I had, I think, back in high school that I followed.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to that BYU, was there a day where you found out you'd made the team? Yeah. walk us through that. Was that like, did you feel like this is going to happen? Was it a surprise?
So you show up and anybody like going to go walk on, I'm sure it's different with NIL and everything now, but you show up and like all of BYU camp is like
post-fall camp.
So what you do is I got caught in spring, and then you have all of summer where coaches are recruiting and they're leaving, and you work out with just the team.
Strength conditioning.
Yeah. You could be with Coach Omer. You're just busting it. Like I didn't miss one workout for 5 years. Like never slept in once, spring, summer, fall, didn't miss a thing. Like just showed up and just busted it. And I remember you have fall camp, and then as soon as the season starts, so the week before the first game, they bring on like 105, they bring on like 15 guys to be just hitting dummies. You're on the scout team. And so I remember you show up and the tryouts are like 45 minutes. Like the coaches are just like, it's Coach Tidwell and a couple other coaches, like they kind of know already who they want. And I remember I was there, Skylar Ridley, who's now the receivers coach up at Utah State, he got cut too. And so we're out there and it was just like anybody that stood in our way, we're just like, I'm gonna cut your head off because you are the only thing standing in front of me. So like routes and everything, catching the ball and just booking it to the end zone. I remember they had issue gear that you could buy of other teams, that if you're on the team, you could buy track gear or whatever in the IPF. And I bought this track long sleeve crew, and on the back of it said Warrior. And like, I remember just wearing that, and I'm just like, it was all out. And then as soon as it's done, they'll be like, all right, guys, like break it down. Cougs on 3. You break it down. He's like, all right, names will be listed this afternoon. And I remember walking up second floor of the SAB and like going and being like
it's like they do on the movies.
Yeah, it's like Rudy.
They freaking put the thing on the bulletin board and you're
Kurt Henderson. I was like, this is the beginning. Like nothing has, I am just now, and I was in the alumni locker room. Yeah, like you're still not on the team. You're just can show up and get the, I mean, it was Jordan Pendleton, Kyle Van Noy, Spencer Hadley, Danny Sorensen. I'm like number 2 defense in the country. We get in fights like every day in practice. It was just survival.
So when you make that first team, can you get cut later into the season? Sure. You can get cut anytime.
Not in the well, so then we get to the bowl game, and you got to keep your GPA. And so most players that are playing, it's like stay within like a 2.0, you know, stay eligible. But if you're a walk-on, you had to be at a 3.0.
Oh, damn.
Because if you kept the team GPA down, like there's a point system and everything at that point. And I remember there's this one kid, I remember we had my mom's iPad, and I remember we kept seeing our GPAs and like refreshing because grades were final the next night. And then we played the bowl game 2 days later. And so we're out there in Florida or California, wherever the bowl game was. And there was one guy that was there, and he was a walk-on. There was, you know, a handful of us. And then the next day he was gone.
No.
Like his GPA wasn't high enough, and
you're out.
He was dead in the water. And the next year he transferred to, you know, some small school, never played football game. I mean, it was like you woke up every day and it was just like a gladiator in the arena of like, if you get hurt, they also like, that's totally fine. We have another guy. You have a bum knee, like your scout team guy. Like, we don't need you. So I remember like wearing stuff. I had like a knee brace because I slammed my knee in the bursa sack, and there was like 70 cc's of fluid. They like drained out, and like wearing this, and then like my leggings over it, so it didn't look like I had this.
This hurt, yeah.
You're just like whatever it takes, you know.
Just gritty. Was it that level of grit all the way through?
For sure. Because I remember when I left scout team, and because I was like, okay, what's the next thing I gotta like? What's the next rung on the ladder? It's like get on a special team. So redshirt year, and then I make fall camp, so it's redshirt freshman year. I was like, I never want to be on scout team again.
Yeah.
That is like...
you're just getting beat up.
Oh yeah. I mean, you talk to girls, you're like, oh, you're on the BYU team, like so cool. And then it's BYU and you're not dressing and you're in the stands. Like, I thought you were on the team.
Yeah.
You're like, well, kind of am, but not really. So then I get on a special teams and I start traveling. Well, then you get off scout team because they're like, well, if you're on special teams, maybe you're second or third string. And I remember looking back at scout team And I was like, that's the elephant graveyard.
Yeah.
Like, I will do whatever it takes to never get back there. But I remember that year of scout team, that's where I think like everything's kind of happening for you.
Yeah.
I'm running routes against Jordan Johnson every day.
Yeah.
I'm running it against
You're getting reps in.
The best DB. And what I loved, I remember Travis Awali. He came back after they played a game and we're running. So they're playing Texas, like I wearing the number of their top receiver because of the offense and everything. And I remember him coming back one game, and Jordan Johnson, I remember he responded again. I saved these clips. This was like my, victories. And he said, guys prepared me. Jordan Johnson said one time, like, guys like Kurt Henderson and Skylar Ridley prepared me for this game. Like, and then I remember Travis one time came back. He's like, bro, like, and Travis had an amazing game. He's like, you ran better routes and were way faster than them. And I was just like, that was my victory of like, I prepared you, but I'm getting better. And so then when I got off that, scout team on offense, well, as soon as you're playing offense, they're trying to recruit your replacement. So now your junior and senior year, they're kind of like, well, this guy's going to graduate. And, I got a scholarship going into my junior year, was playing 30, 40 snaps a game in the starting rotation, but you had Moroni, Putu Tau, and a lot of these others that were coming in. They're kind of like, well, let's give him reps because he's our big recruit. And I'm just like, you're fighting until, we lost to Utah in the Vegas Bowl was my last game.
Yeah. Tanner. Yeah. That was a 35 zip first quarter and then came back to 28-35.
We just ran out of time.
Really what it was.
Every gambler in Vegas says they just ran out of time, and that's what we did in Vegas.
That's exactly what happened. I remember I was at that game with some friends, and that was like the best first quarter of my life. Oh, yeah. Couldn't believe it, It's funny now because Tanner's actually a really good buddy of mine. I love Tanner, and his wife Sydney are dear friends of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a game, man. And you look back at your career at BYU and like the reps that you got in, and really, it sounds like it's just a story of just tenacity, just like this. I am not going to quit. Yeah. Like you had every reason kind of to quit, and like the cards were kind of stacked against you, and you just consistently showed up every day. You mentioned you didn't miss a workout in 5 years. So talk to us a little bit about how, from my opinion, it's like I'll put a number on it, 80% of success is just showing up consistently.
Yeah.
Right. And so talk to us about now, have you kind of transitioned into this role of CEO of wealth management? Is there lessons you take from football into a personal career? Like do any of those things transfer over? And if so, what are they?
100%. And the ones that come to mind is, I remember finishing and I went and got I knew that, NFL wasn't really in my future.
Was it a hope?
No.
Yeah. It wasn't even anything you were like.
To me, it was never like, I want to go play in the NFL. Yeah. You had played with, Fred Warner, Taysom, Kyle, Mitch, like some great football players. And I was just kind of like, that's not me and I don't really aspire for that. So I did like 5 internships during, football. Like, was it Qualtrics? Was it Pelion? Was it some great firms and got some great exposure? And so I think when I graduated, I remember we played Utah, lost. I remember getting earholed. One of the few interceptions we had. I remember getting just smoked and rolling up on the Utah sideline, getting kicked. Like, get out of here, Henderson. Running on the side. And I remember like I had already accepted a job as an analyst at a private equity firm. And I remember like showing up to work like 2 weeks later. So my parents called me, I graduated, like, hey, congrats. They were serving as mission presidents in Australia. So like that whole career, my parents were gone. Wow. Not married, just like navigating. That was great experience and learning. And I remember they called me, said, congrats. Usually we get all the boys when they graduate a suit. So if you want a suit, and I was like, I don't need a suit, I need a mattress.
Yeah.
I need somewhere to sleep. And they're like, all right, you can buy yourself a mattress, but have your car, because they were letting me borrow a car, park it at grandma's house and put your phone in the glove compartment. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you have a job. Like, you don't need to use our phone or be on our phone line. You go get a car. I remember like literally like, off. Everything was cut off.
Cut off.
Oh yeah. And so I remember showing up to work the first time and like, you still have like those adrenaline, like, I Excel, I lived up in Holiday and I go work at Excel for like workout 2 hours, go do like.
What years did we work out at Excel at the same time?
Probably.
I was there.
2015, 16.
Yeah, I was working out at Excel 15, 16.
Yeah. Like I'd go there and just be like cleaning, squatting. I mean, this was before really much CrossFit was going on.
100% we were there at the same time.
Yeah.
I would go do the CrossFit classes there.
Yeah. With Sydney's sister.
With Erin.
Yeah.
So I dated Erin.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. She's one of my favorite ex-partners ever. We have an amazing relationship. Yeah.
So
we had a little fling in 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
That's
I remember
how I
I
got so
did
close with all the
her
nonsense.
class like a couple times. And
Yeah.
so anyways, it's just like, why am I working out?
Yeah.
I'd go and sit in this cubicle. And I was like, does the CPA across the other cubicles, you want to like fight? Does he like,
Your testosterone.
you want to go like one-on-one or something? And like, so I think there's this identity. It's really important when you take the jersey off, you've got to be bigger than it. And I think there was really this time in my life, I'm not married, like living up in Salt Lake, working a ton of hours. And I think the transfer was like, okay, go chop wood in this new arena and like, go figure it out, go get smart. If he did it, if she did it, like there's some sort of pattern, there's some way that they're doing it. And then I'd go find, good cultures, poor cultures. And then I was like, okay, on this investment side, I'm meeting with all these CEOs. I want to go learn the operations. And so went and moved to London and opened up an office there and then came back. And like, I think it all transfers over. Like we're so much bigger than the jersey we wear. And again, I'm not some big jersey guy. Like I wasn't, you find no billboards or highlights.
You're Rudy. You are Rudy.
Maybe I'm the Rudy, but there's no movie about me. I don't think there ever will be. But I really think there's principles. And if you can see principles, and like as I interact with guys that are door to door killing, I'm like, there's principles on the door. There's emotional transfer. You read Think and Grow Rich, or you read the Bible, or you read any of these books where all of a sudden there's like these time-tested principles. I'm like, I need to, one, apply those, and two, be authentic to who I am and start building that. And I think that's where it was. It's like, I'm not a football player. I'm not a receiver. Like, I'm so much bigger than that. Like, I'm a son of God. I'm a friend. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm an athlete. I'm a golfer. And start getting really descriptive. So then all those other things just fuel into who I am and who I'm becoming. And then you start to evolve. And that goes back to the boss bar groups of people that you're around, is you start to fuel off each other and become better because you're kind of that iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. And you take these principles of like identity, of all these identities you embrace, and then you combine it with relentless, ruthless, never ending reps.
Yeah.
Like consistently showing up like putting in such a body of work where
I literally felt that as a
Yeah.
receiver, because I was a quarterback in
Yeah.
high school, came to BYU and they recruited me as an athlete. And so I remember the first time running a cover 2 slant. Coach Doman was our offensive coordinator, and it's like my turn, and I run a slant, which is like you break at 4 yards, and I run my slant and him just ripping me. It's like cover 2 slant, you push outside, swim move, cross face, and come straight back. And I was like, I had no idea that was how you ran a cover 2 slant. I actually didn't even know it was cover 2. But you start to learn. That was a massive failure, ripped me up and down in front of the whole team. And I'm like, I'll never run a slant wrong against a cover 2. Like that will be one of my...
run it now.
Exactly. So I think that is the beauty about time, is I was like, give me another year at BYU and I would have been that much better, because I would just keep working. I'd keep watching. I mean, I would work out with like Austin Colley and many others when they came on the off season. It's like, what did Austin do? And Austin's like, I caught 1,000 tennis balls with my left hand, my right hand, another 1,000 from the tennis ball machine. I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. And I had a little card and I just track how many tennis balls I would catch every day, or on the jugs machine, or I'd work out at 5 a.m. with O'Neill Chambers, because I'm like, this is what he's doing. So that's what I'm doing. So it's just, I was like, I just kind of going to keep applying until all of a sudden they say, hey, you have no more eligibility. And I was like, well, I'm just going to suck this program dry until I'm done.
It reminds me of that quote that Todd Peterson says a lot about, that success leaves clues.
Yeah.
You know, if you really want to be successful, you'll find, if you really engage with it, you'll get that little tip, 1,000 tennis balls. You know, you'll
For
get
sure.
the 5 a.m. workouts. Like, okay, this is what I got to do. And, you know, it's, the reality is that success is not easy, but it's simple because you can copy. Like, you look at someone who's doing what you want to do, and then you just copy them.
I remember my dad saying, he's like, a counterfeit is just as good as an original. Like a good counterfeit. Because many times is like, I'd watch great receivers, or I see great investors, or, you know, going back to like, I see Casey's morning and I'm like, there's something to it. He's done it every day for 20 years. Yeah. Or I see the way that, you know, John leads a team, or I go to the, you know, the Alchemy conference. I'm like, I know a good experience from a poor experience. So if I can start recognizing, and it just takes like that clue, it's like, now just get really good at recognizing clues. What's a crappy father do? What does a good father do? Maybe I can just start doing what the good fathers do until all of a sudden that counterfeit becomes my original. You know, like that's actually who I am.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I look at, like, you mentioned the Alchemy event, and I feel like that's a fun event that I like to throw. And everything that I pulled from that, I stole. You know, I went to other events and I'm like, oh, turn the lights down. Oh, have this music playing. Oh, do the lasers like this. Oh, do the slides like this. Oh, don't take a break.
I went to UPW and I'm like, Alchemy. I see a lot of alchemy in here, you know, and it's like, it's the same thing. Great programs, great concerts. You go to a Coldplay or a Rufus or someone's like, there's similarities with energy, lights, the way that they communicate and interact, and it's authentic. Some of them just play music. I went to a Morgan Wallen. I'm like, the dude said probably 10 words, but he played 35 songs. Yeah. And so it's being authentic, but then taking those patterns and clues and saying like, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. And, you know, transitioning in with that too, that's why why I refer so many clients and I like to be a part of Sandlot, is because what you're doing at Private Wealth, it's like all of us, you know, especially door-to-door people who are listening to this, or business people, entrepreneurs, the main reason we do what we do is for money. I mean, that's the reality. Is if we didn't get paid the way we did in door-to-door, we wouldn't probably do it. And at the same time, there's opportunity to get our money working for us that's healthy and it can grow. But more importantly, it's the lifestyle design piece, right? And that's what I really love about Sandlot, is because, you can go find a financial advisor and he can, you know, put you in a low cost index fund and it'll compound, it'll be great. And you talk to the guy twice a year and cool, hopefully my money's working, right? But Sandlot, it's what we really focus here with this is just that it's like, wealth just isn't your finances. You know, we were talking about before we hit record, where it's like, you know, if you use the example of having friction in your marriage. And if there were friction in your marriage, and if your money isn't aligned, right, it's not bulletproof, it's going to make everything magnify it way bigger, right? So now, you know, if you have friction in your romantic relationship and your finances are in order and you have a strong foundation, just the other things aren't going to feel as intense.
Totally. Right? And I look at 4 kids, like wife sleeps 4 hours a night.
Crazy.
Like with like 3 interruptions, you know, it's like, and you wake up, you got to take kids to school. You got reading books that you got to read this reader, you know, you got bedtime routine. You've got all
like
these,
what, a 6-month-old now too?
4-month-old, 5-month-old. And like that to me is wealth. Like when I look at my relationship, my weekly dates with my wife, and I'm like this week was sauna for an hour, and we turn on the speaker, like I have my, you know, we make homemade kombucha, and it's like, good to see you. Like, nice to meet you. I'm Kurt, you know?
Yeah.
And I look at like, what is real wealth? And when I look at, even when you mentioned like the door-to-door piece, you're out there grinding for 4 months, or some are year round. And you got to be really dialed in your communication. You got to be really dialed in your health and your mental health, because you're going to come home, and some have kids and some have multiple branches. And I look, when my wife and I mean, the investments that we recommend from the private equity side, like I go as deep as I can in every single one of them. Like I think I've done every single investment we've done at Sandlot. And then we also have this piece where we create a full financial view. So every expense, every recurring expense, every cash flow, every distribution, where everything's coming, it says how much you made, how much you spent, how much you're worth from, you know, a financial standpoint. and where my wife and I can sit down and say, here's the financial North Star. Now we can actually go improve it. We can get creative. We can say, what are our biggest opportunities for this year? What did we invest in with coaching or, horseback riding or this school and this school? What were our groceries like? Why are we paying for Google Drive or why are we paying for this? Or we have 3 Spotify accounts. Or like when you have that transparency in your financials, you can start building something that matters and start investing in things that make true impact. And that's where I think I really love is we have this NIL client that it's like, if you play another year, this is what it means. And this money can stretch for 10 years. If you play not another year, this is how it can stretch. And here's your expenses. And I just love having the levers and tools to say, like, this is how you can go live a kick butt life because you actually know the scoreboard and actually can use these tools. And we try to give them those resources. They can be like, wow, I had no idea that's what I'm worth and that's how much I'm spending. And then it brings the marriage closer. They start investing for their kids in a whole new way. It just, to me, it lights me up.
I mean, that report you guys generate. So just, sort of to make it very clear for the listeners, like there is a report that you generate at Sandlot Private Wealth, which probably through AI and other tools and techniques, it scans all of their accounts, right? Checking, savings, all the things, right? And generates this report of like, hey, this is how much money's coming in. Here are all your expenses. Here are all your investments. And here's your net worth. And it's kind of like one piece of like information.
We have CPAs on the back end who are kind of categorizing. We use QuickBooks. We're not logging into anything. They go through a software double that's, all secure. And then we are using AI and other softwares. All of a sudden it's like, here's your year to date. Here's your month. And if they also have alternatives, then we provide like, you invest in this real estate fund, you have this property, whatever. And then we present it to them. And I think there's like this aha moment of like, there's one source of truth. This is great. And then they give us feedback and be like, actually, this goes into this entity or this isn't income. And then we tighten it up and we're like, you're going to get this report every month. Like, go make more money, go crush it. And then they're like, well, we want to do deals in real estate. We want more cash flow deals or whatever. And then we can actually help them because there's clear vision.
Yeah, I've referred a couple of Alchemy clients, members to this report, and I recently had just a kid last week who got his report back, and he was like, "Holy crap, my net worth is X," and I had no idea this is where my net worth was. I'm actually way ahead of schedule, right? I actually have some wiggle room to maybe try a maybe more riskier investment, right? That might have a bigger return, and he's just like was so on, was so excited, and just so fired up. And I look back at my career. And I made so many financial mistakes in my 20s. I went from making 50 grand a year to making 275K in 1 year jump. And then I bumped that up to like almost 400 when I'm 21, 22. And so in my head, I'm like,
NIL money, man.
It's NIL. I'm like, I'm going to make this money forever.
Yeah.
And so I'm buying Mercedes and buying like I'd spend like $10,000 at the mall on clothes, like just the dumbest stuff you could possibly have. And then got really, I guess the word is just irresponsible and was starting trading in the stock market. And I just, I got upside down really fast, where if I would have had a tool like this and someone would be like, hey, Doug, chill out. Let's look at where your money's at. You spent so much over here. And I had no idea how much I was spending. I remember I had my accountant one year hit me up and he's like, hey, do you realize you've spent over 6 figures this year on tickets to sporting events? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this year I spent 20 grand on a Super Bowl ticket. And I'm just like, whoa, like where'd all my money go? Now I'm embarrassed, I'm shamed, now I'm stressed, now I'm anxious, now I'm feeling behind, now I got to go work hard to pay off debt. And like, I mean, if I would have had these resources in my 20s, I'd be in a totally different financial situation right now. I lost 10 years of compounding, and it's just like, that's drastic, and so, luckily I've been able to recover and, I'm grateful for the opportunities I have now, but it's like, I hear this and I'm like, man, if I could go back to 20-year-old Doug, just be like, dude, you've got to get on top of your money. Like, it's not just, making sure you're tracking your expenses, but it's like, you need to start planning. Like, there's investment opportunities that I missed, there's so many investment stuff that I missed, but this report, again, to your credit, it's so powerful because again, I've had multiple guys in Alchemy get the report done, come back to me, and they're like, holy cow, this changes my trajectory. And the biggest takeaway is everyone's really excited. They're like, the path is clear. The path is made clear. Like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to get into real estate or do, maybe another Sandlot deal, Utah City deal, whatever it may be. And now I feel like I can.
Yeah.
And that's empowering.
And I think, and that is fulfilling for me, where people can be more aligned with a bigger version of themselves. It's kind of like if Dougie in his 20s could stop and say, this will be the biggest mistake of your life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Super Bowl, I've never been to a Super Bowl, but $20K on a ticket.
Yeah, I got to sit next to Kevin Durant,
there's always good that comes of it. But I look at when people can all of a sudden be empowered for growth and empowered to make decisions that are aligned with true wealth. And it's like, hey, I'm making $1 million a year and I have $500K on the side that I can go invest. Maybe I can go put more into a portfolio that, we've created for them. They're going to go put some money in this, real estate deal or another deal. And then they're like, okay, then I have my reserve. And then they have this, $50,000 that's sitting there. And it's like, well, wealth isn't just like this next year, go make another $1 million, go make $2 million this year. But that $50,000, what about that relationship with your wife? Like $50,000, what if you set aside $10,000 and $1,000 a month goes to just dates? And what if another $10,000, for a year goes to vacations with the kids, but it's not just like an insane Disney cruise. It's like intentional, and you're writing notes, and like people can spend more time where it makes heart impact and meaningful. We had this MW3 conference, and we look at mindset, wellness, wisdom, and wealth. I'm like, what about your health? Like, what about if you started making strong goals to get your health? Because I think of like some of the $10,000 of clothes, I'm sure that was the jacket that was part of that 10,000 of those shoes, but it was actually, you were appeasing something else inside of you. You were trying to maybe fit somewhere. You actually just wanted a friend, or I
wanted to feel cool.
You wanted to feel something.
2013, all I wanted was like to be accepted and people think that I was cool. So I bought clothes so people think I was cool.
Obviously, they'll think you're cool. So I look at when you can help redefine wealth. I look at this generation as very different than our parents.
Totally.
And, this concept Logan mentioned in the Boss Bot today is like, asking about a certain deal. And he's like, I kind of have that mentality of, I want the last check to bounce. I love that, that philosophy, because to me, it means I want to live big. I want to give big, and I want to have my life be full. Not just, hey, here's your financial plan, and when you die, you'll have $53 million. It's like, great. And you're very rich in the graveyard and you gave it to some foundation. Like, make impact now. But when you have that report and you actually have that community of finance around you, you can do much bigger things because you know the scoreboard and you have the competency around you.
Yeah. And so let's say someone's listening to this, door-to-door sales manager, making great money, haven't really had this. They want this report done. How can someone get this report taken?
Reach out. We'll set up a meeting. We send them a link. They connect their data sources. So it could be their bank accounts, their credit cards. We build that report. We have their first 3 months done in a couple weeks. And then they can decide like, yeah, I want to work with Sandlot, or this is great. I need to go back into the woodshed and chop some more, but it's pretty simple. We're able to get guys and gals going in a matter of weeks.
And I think we can give everyone an Alchemy discount, right?
I think we got to.
We got to give them an Alchemy discount. So how does someone want to get let's say someone's like, all right, I just want the report, and again, getting the report doesn't commit to them doing long-term agreement with you, right? It's just, kind of a snapshot. I know there's like a fee for that setup, but we'll get you a discount with Alchemy. So let's say someone does want to actually like, okay, Kurt, I just want to, I want to dive in. I want to take my wealth seriously. And again, it's lifestyle design as well. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Probably just contact through this. We have our website, email, come to our office in Provo.
Can they shoot you a DM on Instagram?
100%. Like I love spending time with the client. Because to really look at it, you have Wealth 1388, which is the report, whole different entity. You have Sandlot Partners, which is our private investment arm where we invest in, you mentioned Utah City, or you have a lot of companies up and down I-15 that we invest in. Then you have Sandlot Private Wealth, where there's advisors and kind of our family office service. And so it's really, we look at the client and say, what is it you need? Like, it's not, we're just going to force you into a product or you need to do this deal. It's, let's understand how we can really service people.
Yeah, finding out their goals, what their wants are, their desires.
And I think that's the biggest opportunity in anything is experience. It's football. I can't really even tell you what that final score was, but I can tell you what I learned and the experience that I had. The offensive lineman that I lived with, Riker Matthews, that I'm like, I hope Riker's happy. I care about him and the experience of his life, win or lose. And so I look at a client the same way, like I care about you and your partner and your team. How can we help you be successful? Obviously, there's going to be some sort of transaction that happens within anything. How can we provide that value? And that's why we've created these tools for people.
Yeah, I mean, this is, guys that are listening and gals, this is like life-changing resources and tools that I wish I had available. You know, even before I started making good money, like just having these conversations, getting into the game, understanding where your money's at, planning, prepping, you know, and just the reality is, especially I look at the door-to-door space because a lot of door-to-door people listen to this, but things are going to unfold every summer that you don't prepare. You're not prepared for it. There's just going to be chaos every summer. And I've seen guys have really, really great years, and then they have a year of turbulence, and then they lose everything, then you're playing from behind. And just having these resources with your finances, and you're setting your goals, and you know where your money's at, it just allows you to play the game with more confidence because you have a strong foundation, you have a plan, and it just allows you not to get rattled. And if you can go through a summer not being rattled, or go through a sales season without being rattled, naturally your performance is going to go up.
I mean, I think of your junior year versus your senior year of a coach being like, think of going into a summer or going to building another branch being like scared not to lose, worried more about, you know, things that you can't control versus someone's like, you have the green light, you're open, shoot. Someone at the door, like I actually love to be pitched to. Like I'm the
same way.
I love it. I love the energy.
Anyone who knocks on my door gets a sell.
My wife and I go on a trip and it's like, hey, timeshare and you get a free massage. Like I'm talking to the guy for 4 hours. Like I get him down to like pennies. And then I'm like, no, but I like love that experience. But I think of like when people can be more confident, show up home, they come back from a full summer and they're like, I know what I'm doing and I care about building a family, building a marriage, because that's a quick way to spend a lot of money is just have poor relationships and have everything go downhill. I care more about that than, you know, really the business, because I think it all intertwines. So if they can be successful in all those areas, be more confident, they're going to make more money. I think it's an eternal principle.
100%. Well, Kurt, you're the man. I love you, brother.
Love you too.
Thanks for coming on. Me. Those that are listening, reach out to Kurt, get this report done. Let him know that you heard it on the Alchemy Podcast. He has a discount for you. Just, you got to know where your money's at. You got to know, it just gives you so much confidence for him and everything else. So get that done. Reach out to Kurt and he'll take care of you. And Kurt,
happy to help. Grateful to be here, Doug. You're the man.
Love you, brother.
Love you too.